2023 will be for you your biggest year ever. If we do this event again in December 2024, you're going to come up to me and go like, holy crap, you were right. Now, the reality is a percentage of you will not even be here. You will be working at the Apple Store or at Best Buy or clerking for a lawyer or whatever you're going to do, because the market's going to get so tough that you're going to choose to quit. It will be your biggest year of failure. It will be your biggest year of accrued debt. It will be your biggest year of handing back over your Audi or your Porsche or your Mercedes. Or it will be your biggest year of growth. It will be your biggest year of taking your career to your next level. It will be your biggest year of accrued wealth and or plans that help you accrue wealth. Now, the only differentiating factor is you. I chose how the 6 days of my life impacted me. Specifically, I chose how day number 6 impacted me. If you ever get the chance to meet my wife, you are going to come back up to me and you're going to go, bro, you're so lucky. She's amazing. That's on purpose. My dad told me one thing one time that was so wrong. My dad turned to me at my wedding or just after and he said, you're so lucky. It wasn't luck. It was a decision. I decided to marry the exact opposite of my mom. I was like, screw this. I'm not going to put my kids through what I went through. I'm going to marry steadiness. I'm going to marry the opposite of addictive personality. I'm going to marry somebody who has personal control over themselves. And so I built a life by design, and you get to make that exact same choice in 2023, which is awesome. So I want to talk a little bit. Sean introduced me briefly. So I run the Joe Taylor Group. Angie has been our team leader for the last 3 or 4 years. She crushes it. Traditionally speaking, we do about 1,000 transactions a year. When I got my real estate license, the very first transaction I ever did was knocking doors. I spent 2 years knocking doors, talking to people about religious beliefs. So I was like, talking to people about houses is going to be easy. The second door I knocked, I ended up listing their home. I sold homes for 3 or 4 years, and I hate to tell you this to a room full of real estate professionals, I don't like selling houses. Let that sink in for a second. I don't enjoy selling houses. So I got out of the process of selling homes. I don't show homes. The last time I wrote a contract was probably 8 years ago. Write down this book for a second. This is recommendation number 1. If you have not read Who, Not How, you must read it. If you choose to not read Who, Not How, you are choosing to make 2023 a terrible year. Because if you're not married to the principle that when something in your world needs to be accomplished, how is the last thing you need to think, you're not going to make it. I'm sorry to speak so aggressively and boldly. I'm just telling you, I lived through the last recession. And I remember sitting in rooms like this and old dogs standing up and going like, this is 05, 06, going like, you guys have no idea. This market's not going to last. And us all being like, sit down, old people, right? Like, this is going to last forever. And then 07, 08 hit. I'm telling you right now, if you don't change, you will get crushed. So read Who, Not How. So my world, I became obsessed with who's. So if you look at everything in my world, I am obsessed with human collaboration. I am obsessed with my brother-in-law, Troy, who is a Jabberwocky down on the strip. If you think I'm a great dancer, you should see Troy dance. I won't make him, but I'm sure we could hit him with some. He is a who for me. I recognized I needed to have a digital presence. You know who sucks at creating videos? Me. Do you know who sucks at editing videos? Me. Do you know who's good at it? Troy. Troy is a who. If you've ever landed, if you're going like, who is this guy? Let me look at the Team Leader Academy. I have a partner. Her name is Leilani. She's in the back of the room. She is extraordinary. So I'm like, Leilani, I want to build a coaching program specifically for team leaders. So like a day later, she hits me with the Team Leader Academy designs and logo. And I'm like, holy crap, I could never do that. And then I said, hey, I'm a lead generator by trade. Like what I do if you really want to boil me down, I generate Zillow quality leads for 1/10 of the cost. That's what I do. So we are now in the process of onboarding teams across all of North America that we are their marketing and advertising partner, because for what they were spending for $4,000 on Zillow to get 20 leads, they get 200 leads with us and they're the same quality. Well, when I go to Leilani and say, hey, I want to build this out, I got you. We have 1,500 or so agents in our network at Real Broker. We started a year and a half ago with 90. We now have 15, almost 1,600. So we're like, we need to build a collaboration tool. So we built something called the Momentum Movement. And the branding and the design is on point. Leilani for me is a who in my world that is helping me, because if it was up to me, everything would look very boring. I'm a creative person, but while I may have inherited a somewhat addictive personality from my grandpa, I did not inherit design skills. So Leilani is a who. So as I talked about, 2023 is going to be bigger for you, and it's not really an option. The only thing you have to choose is, do you want it to be bigger good or bigger bad? Are you okay with that? All right, so I want to tell you exactly how to increase your gross commissions by $100,000 in 2023. Does anybody want to know this little formula? Okay, here is your commitment, or here is your team's commitment. Take a picture of it. You don't have to do this, but don't get mad at me when you can't pay your bills. When your car gets repoed, I think this $100,000 could probably have helped you make your car payment. All you have to do, 20 days a month. I can't quite give you firefighter hours, but all I'm asking is for 20 days. For 20 days out of the month, I want you to take literally 10 minutes and send 5 text messages. Is that easy enough? So if you run the math, 5 texts a day, 20 days out of the month is 100 texts. If you do that over the course of the year, it'll be 1,200. It's really not that much work. The reality is, if you send these 1,200 texts with a 0.5% conversion rate, you'll end up with about 6 transactions. In your market, if you're here in Denver, it'll generate about $100,000 in gross commissions. I want to make it even easier for you. So I designed a script that plays on hope. If you are mistakenly under the impression that we as real estate professionals sell homes, you are wrong. We sell hope. No one has ever bought a home with us that doesn't believe that this new home is going to make them happier. You could probably think of the one time where there was a divorce and whatever. Generally, people are pretty happy the day they get their keys. They hope for a better life. Well, the text message that I've designed is the like highway to hope. So what I want you to do, I've designed an autoresponder that works probably half the time. Go to my Instagram account and just message me #magic. And you are going to get the one script I want you to use 1,200 times over the next year. And if you use this script 1,200 times, I promise you, you will generate $100,000 in gross commissions over the next 12 months. Deal? Now, the second message I want to get from you is when you have done it and you've started to sell homes. So message me to get the script, and then message me again when you are actually doing it and seeing success. Those messages come almost every day. And when you get the script, you're going to trip out because it's like the simplest thing you've ever seen. All right, so I want to talk about exactly what you need to do to hit your goals in 2023. Part number 1, this is just a math equation because I'm a geek. How much opportunity are you receiving on a monthly basis? Your annual production will not outpace your monthly opportunity. Think about that for a second. Your annual production will not outpace your monthly opportunity. So let's talk for a second about what opportunity looks like. If you are Sean Nealon and you spend 7 hours a day at the gym, he's ripped, right? He looks good. You look good though. Yeah, 5 hours. How many times at the gym does someone come up to him and ask him about real estate? That is an opportunity. If you hold an open house and 5 people walk in and you gather their contact information, that is 5 opportunities. So think about your annual production goal and just make sure you're at least getting that many opportunities on a monthly basis. For the sake of our math equation, the other thing you have to think about is how persistent are you? Now, an introvert hates persistence. If you are an introvert, saying hi to someone feels like you're crossing the Grand Canyon, right? Where other people, if you're an extrovert, you're like, screw that, I'll talk to anybody. So you've got to figure out what persistence is for you, but I'll tell you what persistence does not sound like. If an incoming inquiry comes to you and I was listening to your conversation and your conversation sounded somewhat like this. Hi, this is Billy with Remax. You inquired about the property on Zillow at 12. Oh, okay. Okay, I'll try you later. You are not a persistent person. Can I tell you a story, one of my favorite stories around persistence? Are you okay with that? I love it when agents tell me that leads suck. It's my favorite. It's like, if you want to make me happy, please tell me that. One of our agents had the goal. I'm a little spicy. My partner Taylor's not so much. He's a little bit more velvety. But even he got kind of pissed at this one. So one of our agents knocked on the door and said, hey, Taylor, I just don't think it's working out for me, man. Well, what's wrong? Well, all of the leads you've given me suck. He was like, really? I've never heard that before. We heard all the time. I've never heard that before. Let's do this. Let's sit down and call some of these terrible leads. And the guy's like, well, I mean, maybe they don't all suck. No. I believe you. You must have gotten all the bad ones, right? So they sit down, dial. The first person Taylor calls tells him to go F himself. So it's like, the guy was like, see, I told you. The second person is where the magic happened. The second person Taylor called, he said, hi, my name's Taylor with the Joe Taylor Group. You inquired on the property on 123 Main Street. Did you get the information you're looking for? The kind voice on the other end of the line said, you know what, Taylor, thank you so much for calling. I don't want to waste your time. We are just looking. A significant portion of you at that point would go, oh, okay, well, if you ever need me, just know I used to do gymnastics, so I will jump through hoops for you. Right? So Taylor said something that a persistent person would say. Taylor said, well, let me ask you this, man. What does just looking mean to you? That's a persistent question. And the kind voice on the other end of the line said, you know what? We're probably not going to buy for the next 60 to 90 days. Taylor was like, what? I freaking told you. Okay, yeah, and it put him on the phone, I think, with Angie, and then Angie went out and sold him a house, right? The point is, if you are not a persistent person, everything feels like you're pulling teeth. If you are not a persistent person, the next year of sales may not be for you. Now you can say, screw you, Joe, I'm going to prove you wrong. I like it. Selling homes to your friends and family because they double in value every month and a half is not a persistent job. You have to forget everything that happened over the last 5 years in the real estate market. I have a business partner. She's one of my favorite people in the whole world. She runs a massive real estate team in Utah. Her name is Spring Benson. Every quarter, she tracks her statistics, and they do top 10 realtors for their team. Last quarter, let me tell you the scariest statistic for all of us that have been in the market for 2 years or more. How many of you have been in the real estate market for less than a year? Raise your hand. All right, I like it. I'm confident. 9 of her top 10 agents last quarter were brand new. And she's told me, like, Joe, I have agents that made $400,000 last year that literally don't know how they're going to pay their mortgage next month. She's like, then I have agents who have no freaking clue what they're doing that close 5 homes. The market is not the problem. If you don't have a great 2023, you are the problem. Now, do we have to make moves? Yeah. Do we have to pivot? Absolutely. But if we're not willing to be persistent, we will fail. Here's another part of the equation. How consistent are you? Consistency is the easiest thing in the world. If you look over the last 10 business days, have your weekends. But if you look at the last 10 Monday to Fridays, were you there? Like, this is the easiest thing to get a 10 on. If you found value in this video, this podcast, whatever it is you're consuming this content, I ask you to do 3 things. Like, comment, and subscribe. That way you and I can connect on a deeper level. You'll be notified when we have more content coming out, more great podcast guests, or more information. Like, comment, subscribe. Then you take whatever your monthly opportunity is and you times it by 75%. So it's a super easy math equation to run. I can predict your 2023 if you were honest enough to tell me how consistent, how persistent, and how much opportunity you get. So now, looking forward, there will be no surprises in December of 2023. If you are sitting back going like, I wonder what next year is going to be like, you're going to get crushed. Do you know who's not afraid of 2023? I'm not. It's going to be massive. I can't wait. The hardest economy for me to be in was the last 5 years. How am I going to make a difference in somebody else's life when all 3 of their sisters and their brother-in-law are all real estate agents and the 20 people they go to the gym with? And like, I would have people come up to me at CrossFit. It doesn't look like I do CrossFit, but I do. And say like, oh, we just bought a house. And I'm like, oh, sick. Where? Oh, Lusitano Ranch. And I'm like, Lusitano Ranch? Don't you teach school? And they're like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, how much was your house? And they're like, $1.4 million. And I'm like, holy crap. Like, that's nicer than my house. And who sold you the home? Oh, my husband's sister got a real estate license last month. I'm like, oh my gosh, this sucks. Do you know what doesn't suck? 2023. 2023 is going to be awesome. I am going to feast in 2023. Why? Because I'm a fantastic marketer. We'll buy 75 properties this year. I think next year we may buy 200. I think it's going to be awesome. All right, couple of last things, and then I've got 15 minutes left. All right. I am a certified guide with the Phil M. Jones Exactly What to Say program. Why? Because I suck at human communication. My mother-in-law, who passed away from ovarian cancer, it's the worst, used to call me a bull in a china closet. And she was right. When it comes to human relationships, I'm actually really, really bad at it. So I chose to get certified with Phil M. Jones so that I can learn how to talk to people without ruining the conversation. And a lot of times the relationship. If you ever want to see me ruin a conversation, just have somebody hit me with a critical conversation that I'm not prepared for. I will butcher it. So I got certified in exactly what to say because I just want to be better. My daughter, who's 16, is a fantastic volleyball player. I have certain things that I'm comfortable with. She's always mad at me because my 18-year-old son used to wear like the shortest shorts in the world. And I would let him wear shorter shorts than I would let her wear. And she's like, why are you the way you are as a dad, right? Well, we were at a volleyball game one time, and she decided to wear a half shirt. Basically, she decided to wear underwear to a volleyball game. And I was like, I'm not okay with this. So walking out of the volleyball game, I put my arm around her and I just said, Ev, I want to talk to you when I get home. I had time to prepare for this conversation. So I opened the conversation, rather than yelling, rather than screaming, with a very simple phrase. I said, sweetheart, I literally would die for you. You know that, right? I would do anything for you. I love you more than I love myself, and you know how much I love some me. How open are you to hearing what I have to say about how you dressed to the volleyball game tonight? And she said, Dad, I'm willing to listen. And it changed the whole thing, because what I wanted to say is, don't ever let me see you dress like that again. But because I slowed down a little bit, because I took some of my training to heart, I was able to actually have a conversation that didn't permanently damage my 16-year-old daughter. So with our clients, if you've never read Exactly What to Say, there's a book, Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents. I didn't even include any opening phrases in this conversation because it's just not worth it. Conversations are the easiest thing for you to have right now in the entire world. What we have to work on is some of our perspective changers. Now, when we talk about perspective changers, we in the real estate industry are obsessed with hearing yes. We just want people to say yes to us. Like, would you like me to put you on the phone with my lender? Yes. Will you meet me at this home at 2 o'clock tomorrow? Yes. Can I come by and take a look at your property so that I can list it? Yes. Our game right now is not yes. Our game is maybe. We have to be comfortable with maybe. If I ever got back into the dating game, I would be obsessed with somebody going like, maybe I'll go out with you, maybe. If they say yes too fast, I would worry that there'd be some sort of like financial exchange, right? So I just want somebody to say like, maybe. Let me think about it. So the perspective changers that we need to talk about, here's a really good one. When somebody says to you, I'm not going to buy in 2023 because the market's going to crash. Interesting. I've read a whole bunch of stuff and I'm all over the place with this. Let me ask you, how certain are you that that's going to happen? Oh, 100%. Okay, help me understand where you got your information from. Well, my brother-in-law said that his friend, who's also a police officer, told him the market, like, in order to change somebody's perspectives, we have to question where they got their information from. Now, if I'm trying to get you in a conversation where you tell me you're not going to buy in 2023, from saying, no, I'm not going to buy, to yes, I'm going to buy, that's a loser's game. Good luck with that. But I might be able to get you to say maybe. So questioning somebody's certainty is a great way to get them to say maybe. Asking them to help you understand. I had an amazing conversation in the back of the room with an individual we were discussing a world conflict that I truly don't even understand that well. And I sincerely just wanted some more information. Draw on your paper, if you will, humor me really quick. Draw two little buckets. I'm the worst artist in the world, as I've already admitted. On one bucket, write me, not Joe, write yourself. And on the other bucket, just put a C for your client. Now, we in the real estate agent profession are obsessed with telling everybody how great we are. Well, in your conversations with prospective clients, if somebody's bucket needs to be filled with information, not to give away the ending, it's not theirs. They don't care. They don't care how much you know. They don't care about your talents and abilities. They don't care about your children. They don't care. The famous Vegas real estate image that I grew up with was a guy standing on a roof playing a violin. I was like, why is that what you chose? But that was his thing. Nobody cares about you. Your clients don't care. If you want your clients to have an emotional connection with you, try this. Ask them about them. If you run a real estate team and you have agents who are spending their time calling and texting prospective clients, do this fun little exercise. When one of your agents gets off the phone with a prospective client, walk up to them and say, hey, Julie, tell me about that client. And as soon as they go into LP Mama or whatever that stupid thing is, like, well, they're looking for East Denver up to 500,000 with the blah, 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 blah. No. Tell me about them. Let's pretend no one, this is just us here. Aren't you kind of curious why somebody's looking at a house right now? Like I am. I'm like, holy crap, everything I read is terrible. And then somebody, we run ads and 100 people ask us about homes for sale. I'm like, are you guys freaking crazy? Yeah, no, we'd love to connect you with somebody, right? So I'm authentically curious, why are you looking for a home right now? And the answers you're going to get are going to be everything. I'm getting a divorce. My husband passed away, and I just can't live here with his stuff around me, and I just can't do it. We're having another child. We inherited the home, and to be honest, we hate it. That's the information you need. You don't need to know price, location, square, and that stuff can get filled. You could fill in the gaps on that. The number one thing I would want to know, the number one bucket I would want filled is mine. I would want to fill my bucket with information about you. So we did a call yesterday. Some of you may have been on it. And the individual that ran the call said, there was a study done by Harvard or somebody where they put 50 people in the room and only made rules for one person. And it was a get to know you exercise. Have you guys heard this before? One person was given specific instructions that they were not allowed to talk or tell anything about themselves. And at the end of the exercise, all 50 people had to pick their favorite person in the room. You already know what I'm going to say. The one person that almost everybody said was their favorite was the one person that was unable to talk about themselves. All that person did was ask questions from people. So if you want to connect with clients in 2023, become insanely curious about them. If you ever end up in conversations with clients where you feel like you've lost control of the conversation, it is literally because you stopped asking questions. You need to understand there's some rules to human communication. One of them is people do things for their own reasons, not yours. How many of you, like me, in your career have shown 5 homes to someone and had them pick the worst home over and over and over again? Have you guys had that experience before? I pretty soon learned that I had to shut my freaking mouth because we would go into a kitchen. I'd be like, oh my gosh, guys, I'm sorry. This is terrible. And the wife would go I think it looks awesome. And I'm like, oh no, I mean terribly awesome. I would try to talk myself out of it. My opinion does not matter in general sense. Now, we need to be educated. When somebody reaches out to me very specific, how many of you guys have ever watched one of my favorite movies of all time is, it's with Steve Carell and Ryan.
Love Maybe Mill.
Love.
Definite. What the shit is it?
He's Not That Into You. Love something. Yes, Crazy Stupid Love. Thank you. Now you remember, Steve Carell finally gets somebody on the hook. And it was Marissa Tomei. And she says, he asked her a question and she asked him a question well, what do you do for a living? And he's like, what do you do for a living? She's like, well, no, what do you do for a living? What do you do for? She's like, are you really not going to tell me? It freaked her out. So we can't be that geeked out on never telling anyone about ourselves, but we need to geek out on it a little bit. We just need to make sure in every conversation we have with a prospective client that we understand their reasons, that we let them tell their story. I have a brother-in-law who knows absolutely nothing about me. He is an oral surgeon. He was an oral surgeon for the UNLV basketball team when we won the national championship. He wired Greg Anthony's mouth shut. One of his kids lives in Austin, Texas. The other lives in Houston, Texas. He has a daughter that lives in Atlanta, Georgia. Her son is a dental anesthesiologist. He has another son that just returned home from 2 years of service. He had a kid when he was 67 years old. He had a child. He's going to be 85 when that. Why do I know all this crap? Because whenever we talk, it's all about him. He doesn't want to hear about me. You will know you have succeeded when at the end of a transaction, your client says to you, you know what? I don't really know that much about you. Like, if you know everything about them, you have succeeded. Let me end where I began. 2023 may for you be one of those pivotal years where you're able to say, it was the best year of my career. 2023 may be for you one of those years where you look back and go, that was hell. I never want to live through that again. You get to make the choice. It will be one or the other. In 2007, my business partner and I got an REO account. He got contracted with the city of Las Vegas. Barack Obama gave Las Vegas like $100 million to buy homes. We were doing that. We were doing REOs. We built our team. Like, we became who we became because of the last recession. At the end of the last recession, I started a tech company. My business partners in that tech company were Shaquille O'Neal, the Los Angeles Clippers, Blake Griffin, and all Skull Candy, and all these amazing tech companies. And we raised and lost $1 million. And I went into like a deep depression. It was the best. Because it's how I learned how to market properties. So now everything I do now that is feeding my family and allowing my son to go for 2 years and live in Africa and serve the people, it's because of these amazingly terrible experiences I've had in my life. Because I refuse to have a terrible, terrible experience. I refuse to let 2023 define my career. I'm going to define it. And at the end of 2023, you and I are going to bump into each other and you're going to go, you're right. It was amazing. Or you and I are going to bump into each other and you're going to say, you're right. It was terrible. Here are your keys, Mr. Herrera. And you get to decide. Thank you for having me. Sean, great job putting this together.